Okay, these are the next series of quotes from my book, The Holy Grail of Wisdom Quotes. We're going to start with this guy, Peter Andrei. And again, not all the quotes that I'm giving in these videos are in my book because the book's only 700 pages. I got thousands of pages of quotes I'm going to gradually go through. So Peter Andrei is kind of a young guy. He wrote a book called Eloquence. He wrote another book about how highly effective people speak publicly, things like that. And he's kind of young. Young guys usually don't know too much, but he's pretty smart. He was like a debating champion, public speaking champion guy. Talks about rhyme is reason as a fact. Yeah, if you have a good slogan and it rhymes, that's much more memorable. You know, just think about the O.J. Simpson case where they said if the glove doesn't fit, you must acquit. People still remember that 20 years later. And Cicero, the greatest lawyer, the greatest of the Romans, always said the most important point in your case when you're running a trial is to make the key point into a rhyme. Okay, rhyme is a magnet for the ear, is what Cicero said. Peter Andrei also says, try to use inclusion pronouns while you're speaking. Say we or let's, just because you include the audience in there for what that's worth. Everybody knows people remember stories better than other things and just plain logic and facts. What else did he say? Try to have positive emotions to the extent that's possible. Like if I make a title for a YouTube video, it's better to make it a positive title than to emphasize a negative component. People are a little bit avoidance. He says they have emotional radar that gets them to try to avoid things that are negative, but you have to also be aware of negative. I think if you're too, if you don't ever learn about negative, then you become easily vulnerable chump. Rhetorical questions are good. They get a person to think. The person wants to add them. We're programmed to try to answer a question, so that gets attention whenever you can. Try to evoke emotion because it's much more memorable. Okay, fine. Now, the next thing I'm going to talk about, quotes by Anonymous. I got tons of quotes by Anonymous. I'm going to break it up into at least 2 parts, maybe 3. We'll see how many of them there are. So the first one is, freedom of speech is the power of the poor. Right, by Anonymous. And it's also Christianity is the power of the poor. I mean, if you have atheistic Darwinism, it says the poor people are just pieces of crap. They're like lowlife, scum. They have no rights, no significance, nothing. Versus Christianity says they're all equal to the king in the eyes of the God. Okay, euphemisms for WTF. We all know what WTF means. Whiskey Tango Foxtrot is one way you can basically express WTF. Other, popular little acronyms are FUBAR, which means effed up, beyond all repair. Snafu, something now all effed up. Susfu, something same as usual, something effed up. Situation unchanged, still effed up. Oh, Bohica means bend over, here it comes again. Guys used to wear t-shirts with that in high school when I was young. A grunt is somebody who carries a backpack and they make a grunting sound when they first put it on. A sit rep is a situation report. Okay, anonymous quote. Next one is, the only cure for collectivism is individualism. Another truism there. Beware of the man who doesn't talk. Native American proverb. How do you turn a fox into an elephant? You marry it. Okay, if you chase 2 rabbits, you won't catch either one. Hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. Yeah, a lot of people can be outcompeted just by effort and personality. That's why I emphasize that for study skills. I've seen tons of people make it all the way through medical school that weren't that bright, but they were hard workers. Well begun is half done. All right, Anonymous. It's easy to ignore the elephant in the room until he starts shitting. Yeah, you want to know about bad negative things so you fix the problem faster rather than later. Anonymous. Judgment comes from experience. Experience comes from bad judgment. To feign madness, a man can help it can help an innovator to not be seen as a rebel but as a madman. Okay. An ounce of dialogue is worth a pound of monologue. A library is a hospital for the mind. Resilience is the ability to achieve a successful outcome in the face of adversity. Always keep your hero in trouble. An advice to playwrights. People like it when they like the protagonist character and the protagonist character really wants something, is going after it, and then there's obstacles to stop them from getting it easily, and then how they overcome those obstacles. Like I just talked about the book Quo Vadis. Vinicius, the Roman general, was in love with the Christian barbarian princess Lygia, And he had all these obstacles to finally getting her love and then marrying her and all that. And that was a real interesting part of the book, as well as Petronius. Okay, everything takes longer than it should except for sex. The most important things to know are yourself and your local environment, because that's what you have to work with. He who pays the piper calls the tune. All these quotes, by the way, are by Anonymous. When big money talks, the truth shuts up. I can tell you that is very much true. Big money has the power to force whatever it wants people to believe into the public consciousness just by repetition and by blocking the contrary statement. Okay, freedom of speech. We talked about that as the power of the poor. He who pays the piper calls the tune. Yeah, that's why industry-funded research is always bogus. He who is absent is always wrong. Yeah, sometimes you better make sure you're there, otherwise you get screwed. Anonymous. The golden rule means that he who has the gold makes the rules. Unfortunately, that's all too common in the modern world is, again, big money can get its way just by flooding the situation with money. They flood the internet with videos about, meat and oil being good for you, but it's nonsense. Okay? If it walks like a duck and quacks like a duck, then it's probably a duck. Yeah, pay attention to your own brain. An intelligent person trusts themselves more than other people, and they should. Okay, what cannot be cured must be endured. No one should speak of a rope in a house where someone was hanged. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. And then I played with that. You can send a kid to college, but you can't make him think. You can teach a person the vegan diet, but you can't get them to eat it. Very few do. There's a million chumps going for all their medical tests compared to everyone that actually does something useful, becomes a low-fat, low-sodium vegan, etc. A guest sees more in an hour than a host in a year. The family that prays together stays together. That was originally anonymous, but now I learned that was a big slogan of Father Patrick Peyton. He's the Irish priest, the rosary priest. He used to have hundreds of thousands of people in the audience while he would pray the rosary. He was an extraordinary guy. I made a video about him, and there's a DVD about him and other videos about him. The Jesuits' motto was, "Give me a child the first 7 years, and you may do what you like with him afterwards." Anonymous. I only debate with equals. All others I teach. Big ambition is part of big achievement. Now that's really true. You want people to be inspired and aim for something really high because that will energize them, like building a cathedral. Okay, necessity is the mother of invention. Where there's a will, there's a way. When one door shuts, another opens. Excellence comes from standing out, not from fitting in. If you want to find out what a person is made of, put them under pressure. The beatings will continue until the morale improves. That actually, I think, came from Captain Bligh and, Mutiny on the Bounty. Then there was a joke here. I went to the music store, but I forgot my Chopin list. Okay, when poverty comes in the door, love flies out the window. Yes, the woman has to really love a man to stick around when the man loses his job. Okay, a wise man knows everything. A shrewd man knows everybody. Okay, a man convinced against his will is of the same opinion still. He travels fastest who travels alone. What goes around comes around. People who read classics have more class. The grass is always greener on the other side because there's more shit on the other side. The walls have ears. Okay, nowadays with all the surveillance, it's good to learn how to be intelligent, how you talk and what you say. 1 hour of sleep before midnight is worth 2 hours after midnight. He who flatters you more than usual has either deceived you or wants to do so. That kid is a street angel and a home devil. Yeah, everybody's seen their kids behave that way. You'll hear, the parents of their friends say, "Oh, your kid's so wonderful," after the kid just had a big, toilet mouth episode at home. Okay, kids will say some funny things, My wife was talking to my daughter. She was in junior high at the time. She was a real clever kid. And they were having some serious conversation, and I sort of interrupted. I don't know what I wanted. I wanted to know if my dinner's ready or something like that. And she's like, "Dad, can't you see we're having an important conversation? You just walk right in here, start swinging your balls around. Do you know how to design a website? Why don't you buy asshole.com and write all about yourself?" So it was funny at the time. And believe me, I know it's kind of uppity, but it was funny at the time, and I took it as a joke. Okay, you don't break the law breaks you. That's a good one. I remember hearing that. I heard that in a sermon when I was in college, and it really was a good motivator for me. All right, so we'll just finish with this, that same sermon, a little longer. I don't remember who gave it. He said, you don't break the law. The law breaks you. If you jump out of a window, you don't break the law of gravity. The law of gravity breaks you. If you turn your back on God, God will turn his back on you. Anonymous. Okay, hope that was interesting.